One of the reasons why I started teaching actually stemmed from 5th grade. I was given an assignment by my teacher to set up a lesson plan and then turn around and actually teach my peers. And I thought this was a project that each student was going to do, but it turns out it was just me. And I had so much fun putting together the lesson and then teaching my peers with games and whatnot. And afterwards, my teacher came up to me and she said, "Yep, that's what I thought. You're a natural. You should be a teacher." And she was right. So flash forward to now, 15 years of joy. I really do enjoy it. Hi, I'm Melissa Mia Gwyn, and I've been a computer instructor for the last 15 years, which means I love what I do. And I have been with the Career Development Solutions team that entire time. I teach classes from Microsoft Office classes like Excel, Word, PowerPoint, to business skills classes like project management and time management, and even some offshoots like QuickBooks. Okay, there can be a little bit of confusion about what QuickBooks really is as a software. And a lot of people will describe it as the accounting software. Yes, that is true, but it's actually much more robust than that. So I like to refer to it as the operational software. You have to run a business? Well, guess what? You're going to have to do things like purchase orders and estimates, and then pay bills and track those bills and write a few checks and, pay your employees, have time tracking for those employees. Basically, anything operational that just about any organization has to do, including nonprofits, QuickBooks is capable of doing with a bunch of great built-in systems like forms to fill out, forms that you can customize with things like your logo. And as you're doing your daily work, behind the scenes, QuickBooks, when set up properly, is doing the accounting for you. Which means on the flip side, once you input all that data and conduct all your business, one of the other great perks of QuickBooks is the reporting feature. Not just the required reports like income statements and balance sheets that a lot of government agencies might want to see, but also the kinds of reports that are meaningful to your business, like the 90-day summary of aging accounts receivable. If someone owes you, you kind of want to know who they are so you can pick up the phone. Now, on the heels of discussing what QuickBooks software is and all the operations that it can support, well, that leads us to business skills. You have to worry about things like organizational skills to make sure that you have all of your invoices in the right place and all the amounts are accurate. You have things like time management so that you can work more effectively through your various operations. You've got project management. For example, if you have to migrate from QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online, that's a project, and it should be done with, tasks and management in mind. And so business skills tie in very nicely with QuickBooks because it basically touches just about all the operations that QuickBooks does. Now, if you're asking whether or not you need to take QuickBooks training, you might ask yourself, who would benefit from training like this? And in my many years of teaching QuickBooks classes, I've seen quite a variety of students. We have students that are looking for a career change. Maybe they were doing some more manual labor and now they're looking to work more in the office setting, so they need to heighten their computer skills. And QuickBooks is a very commonly used software out there, mostly because it's so affordable for companies to buy and that it's so robust and capable. So it's definitely a good thing to put under your belt of knowledge and training so that you can make your resume and your professional skill set look more robust as well. I've also seen students that were sent here by existing companies, so it's part of their job and they needed to increase their knowledge on the software. We can definitely help you understand the software better. And finally, if you are an entrepreneur or a budding entrepreneur, hey, you got to do accounting. That's just part of the gig. So QuickBooks is affordable for you rather than some of these more expensive softwares and competitors. QuickBooks is meant to be easy, immediate, implementation cheaper, in at least for immediate costs. So you might consider QuickBooks training whether to decide if it's the right software for you, or if you have already decided, you're going to want to know how to use it properly, because that's your books that you're dealing with, and you don't want to leave that to too much chance. Okay, but quick public service announcement, guys. QuickBooks Online is very different from QuickBooks Desktop in terms of the interface, in terms of how you do things, and even in terms of some of the features and capabilities. So if you are going to take training, be sure that you are choosing the right kind of training. If you're picking the software, do your due diligence. They are not the same. Now, for a relatively short training period, we actually cover a lot of ground in our Get Going with QuickBooks Online class. And we cover quite a few areas of the business operations. So we start with the fundamentals, like understanding the chart of accounts, which really drives the accounting behind the scene. Really kind of understand just a little bit of accounting basics even. Learning what's an asset, what's a liability, how do they interact. And if you take my class especially, man, I have got some tricks for you to make it all a little easier to understand. After we get those kinds of accounting basics down, we start branching off to the various lists that need to be developed. So, for example, customers and vendors and employees lists, because the more robust they are, the more accurate and fully completed they are, the better your transactions become. So we develop those lists, and then we focus on transactions like invoicing, sales receipts, a statement, bills, how to receive and pay those bills. And we even go into a little bit about banking, because all the stuff you're doing in QuickBooks, you need to make sure it's accurate according to your bank balance. And so we even teach things like reconciliation to make sure everything is on the up and up. We also go over reports again and again, because it's such an important part of QuickBooks. I mean, the list goes on. I would highly encourage you to consider taking this training. Now, after having taught this class as many times as I have, I've had the chance to see some success stories even during the class. For example, I occasionally get students that might be a little bit afraid of the training, especially if it's online training. And you can just kind of see it. They're hesitant. They don't want to ask questions. They're afraid to look stupid, which in my class is never the case. I encourage questions from everybody. And so by the end of our sessions, they are clicking without fear. They're feeling much more confident about the navigation and the terminology. And I often get comments like, I feel really good about this. I feel like I can put together my books for my business. Or I feel like now I have the right to say that I have QuickBooks training on my resume. So we consistently get feedback like that. And so I see by the end of the day, they feel much more confident not only to interact and ask whatever's on their mind, but that they actually learned. They're navigating the software easier, they're using the right terminology, and they're even demonstrating an understanding of the basics of accounting behind all the transactions that they're doing. So it's really encouraging to see that kind of success even in such a short amount of time.